Hey everybody, welcome to the Bourbon Battalion. This is Bobby, and tonight we're going to do a Recon report on the Woodinville Cask Strength Single Barrel Store Pick. Now, my understanding is that most of all of these went out as an individual store pick or a single barrel to about every different region. This one comes from Texas. It comes in at 121.2 on the proof. And the interesting story behind it is the cooperage, the way that they cooper their barrels, right? So when you look at their cooperage, they're letting their barrels age into the elements. So for 18 months, they let their barrels age in the weather, the rain, the shine, the snow, whatever comes their way. So it's a different process, and they like to do that because they say that it helps with the tannings. So we're going to explore that. We're going to go in here and do a basic Recon report. Now, when I say basic, multi-step, right? So, not to beat a dead horse, but you have to give anything you open due diligence. So we're going to look at it, we're going to smell it, taste it, set that aside, do a second pour, taste it, smell it, go through the second pour, and then go back to a little bit of the original we left behind. We call that the back blast. So, with no further ado, Woodinville. So I've done Woodinville in the past, but I've never done their cask strength. I did a skirmish between the port finish versus the Crown Royal XO cognac finish, and the Woodinville killed it. So I'm really excited about the Woodinville cask strength. It's really unique. They have their notes on what to expect on flavor and taste and all that stuff. And you know what? Their notes are pretty close. Everybody has their own palate and their own nose, and you're going to know what you want, what you smell, and what you taste. They're going to be things that you're either training yourself to know or things that you just come across in your day-to-day that brings up memories for you. So we're going to go into this guy and pull this and get some pouring going. So we're going to pour a generous pour because I'm going to go through and do all the tasting profiles off of it, but at the same time I'm going to save some. So I need to make sure that I have some due diligence towards being able to go back to that. So if you look at it, man, the color is gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful. It's a rich amber, like a really rich amber, really pretty. Let me give it a roll here so I can see what kind of viscosity I got. If you've ever sat out at night and saw a really, really beautiful, deep sunset through the crowds, through the clouds, the old saying, red at night, sailor's delight. It's kind of like one of those really beautiful orange sunsets that just kind of marinates through the clouds there. So the legs on this guy, thick and slow. Thick and slow. They don't seem to be breaking apart for me. And what I mean by that is, are the legs actually making it all the way to the bottom without breaking apart? And what I mean by viscosity, I'm not looking at the alcohol content. We're looking at how's it going to coat? What do we think that we're going to get as far as viscosity? Is it going to be a big, full, rich palate? Is it going to have a good finish? Or is it going to be short and weak? So those are the things I'm looking for. And these legs are, they're slow, but they're not breaking apart. So overall, the legs look good. I'm happy with the legs. I feel like it's going to be a good coater. And I'm pretty sure that, if you look at this right here, you can tell that, it's got some age. It's not brand new. It's got its due diligence in there. So let's go to the nose. So you can definitely tell it's corn forward. In this case, the mash bill on this is 72-22-6. So 72% corn, 22% rye, 6% malted barley. And even though it's corn forward, it's definitely corn forward. It has this really weird, it has a predominant cinnamon note. There's like a definite cinnamon note that really stands out. So although it's sweet, and you definitely know it's corn forward, not overly surprising with a rye to pull out some of those like big spice notes, whether it be like cinnamon, powder, allspice. I feel like I'm getting some allspice in this. I feel like there's some light honey in there, like maybe like a honey nut Cheerio, maybe a cinnamon toast crunch mixed with a honey nut Cheerio kind of cereal blend. But there's definitely grainy. You get that cereal graininess, which I typically get from a rye, so it's not overly surprising to me. Now the one thing I'm excited about to see, because it's going to be a little surprising to me, one thing I always know is that for me, malted barley, the higher the malted barley, the more cocoa, the more chocolate. One of the things they say is one of the tasting notes that you'll pull is chocolate. Well, this is only 6% malted barley. So although I'm saying that that isn't for everybody, but to me, malted barley is usually something that I can pick it out as soon as it's above 6%, because I get a real predominant cocoa nut. So I'm hoping that I start finding this chocolate that they were talking about. But right now it's corn, cinnamon, yeah, all those things that I would expect to see. There's some floral notes in there. You know, with it being spring, you know, I'm thinking flowers. I do get that floral, but I also have that honey. I mean, there's some honey in there. It's a pretty complex strength. I mean, it has a lot of stuff that lines up with bourbon, but you have that rye note that's pretty strong, and at 22%, I think it's given a little bit more character than the 22%. All right, so full frontal assault is our first sip, our first taste to the palate. I don't usually think much of the first taste. It's nothing more than getting my palate acclimated. So having said that, cheers. Wow, is that hot? That makes me happy. Lots of mouthfeels. Very first thing in the mouth is it's sweet. So that corn is making a huge sweet presence. Right as it comes in, tastes like an old atomic fireball. Not Fireball the whiskey. An old atomic fireball. There's a heavy cinnamon note, but that fireball starts to wear off and it gets this like chalky smoothness to it. That's what it first started as. Now, like I said, the thing I'm looking on my first one, because I'm going to chew it right away, am I getting the tingles? Is my gums getting a little numb? Did my mouth light up like it was on fire? Yes, but I also have that deep saliva in the back of my tongue, and that's telling me, hey, this has got some complexity to it. You know, take note. This is going to get really good. So I wasn't hating it. Once again, don't let the first thing ever deter you. Listen, every time you take any kind of bourbon to your palate on the first thing, it's hot. Duh. It's gonna be hot. I mean, you're dealing with at least 80 proof. In this case, we're talking 121.2. So we have to acclimate our palate. I'm picking up some like weird clover too. Very first time I had some cocoa. Just a hint. Just a hint of cocoa. All right, second taste. Still have some great mouthfeels, but not nearly as hot. Not feeling that big whoosh of everything's on burning and you're on fire. I don't feel that at all now. It's definitely getting really nice. You get a really nice solid hug, which I appreciate a good hug. Haven't had one since my mom was alive, so I miss good hugs. I'd say on the finish, closer to the finish, you know, it's you get a little wood back here, not tons. I mean, that weathering must have something to do with it, because normally you get these tannings that I would be looking for, and although I get a little wood on the back, I'm not getting tons of it. It's not predominant to me. Oh, it's changing. It is changing. I'm still getting spice, but I'm getting this like really weird, like if someone put just a little bit too much cinnamon on your apple pie. Take a really nice warm apple pie, you know, where you taste that crust, you know, that crust is really nice and flaky, and the apple pie, this is getting really nice. Even this little bit of time, so I'm really excited to see what happens on the back blast and the second pour. Wow. Third pour in, that's really sweet. I think that if you're a person that doesn't care for really sweet, you probably wouldn't care for this. Having said that, I'm an equal opportunity person, and this had me at ouch, you know, because I instantly had this big mouthfeels off of it and all that stuff. So, but the legs are long and smooth. The finish doesn't disappoint. I don't have to take another sip for a while. I'm still tasting it. It has a great finish for me. But yeah, it's like a spicy, well, kind of spicy, but like if you had cinnamon powder on your warm apple pie, it's definitely like a warm apple pie. Maybe that vanilla beans, maybe like you thought about putting some vanilla ice cream on it and making a la mode, and then you took it back off, like, nah, I'd change it, I'd just eat it straight. And there's like a little bit of like vanilla on there. I get a little vanilla bean in here. Yeah, but that's got good. So I have a little bit left. You can see it's not a lot. I always save a little bit here, and we're going to set this aside over here. That's the back blast. The reason we do a back blast is I want to see, one, what's it going to be like after it's been open for a while, because that matters to me, because I love to decant. Using a decanter helps it breathe, helps it get to what I believe most distillers wanted you to get to tasting, right? They're not giving you notes off the neck. You can get notes off the neck, but I don't believe that's what the intended spirit was designed for. So, having said that, let's go back over here, and we're going to do a second pour. All right, the second pour. Let's pour it in here. And I poured a little deep because the neck isn't very long. So second pour. You know, and that's the thing that's really important, right? When you get to the second pour, that's when you have this total acclimation, right? So you're getting there. You've gotten to the point that you have the nose, you have the palate, you have all these things going on. So boy, it's softened up a little bit. I get a little bit more honey than I was before. Put this back over here so we can see what I'm doing. So definitely a little bit more honey. And I'm getting honey on this side, but I'm getting a predominant vanilla on this side. That smells amazing. That smells really good. Really good. To the palate, cheers. Wow. Really surprising. To me, it's not very often that I go to the about face and I still have mouthfeels. I've got some really good mouthfeels. It's really, it's softened. It's not nearly as bitey as it was before in the aspect of like super hot. I still get a good amount of tinkles in the mid palate. Sweet, really sweet in the front. Yeah, the proof has went down a lot. So the nice thing is, if you're a high proof person, you're gonna love this. If you don't like it sweet, you're not gonna like it. If you're a low proof person that really doesn't care for high proof, maybe it's too hot, maybe it's too spicy. Me and the Gunny went through this, right? And the Gunny is not a high proof guy either. His notes and his words were, get to the about face, do your time. It gets better, and I echo that even from the high proof guy. Proof was more apparent earlier. It covers more of the flavors than before, so it takes getting to the second pour, excuse me, to get through all the different flavors. Now you're getting this big, broad range of flavors that I wasn't getting before. Even though I was getting a bunch of it, this has changed. Wow. That is so good. I still get like Cinnamon Toast Crunch meets Honey Nut Cheerios, but way better. Way better. Man, that nose is just, that cocoa is starting to come really forward. And it's weird because it's not like a high malted barley, which that's where I pull it from. But it's making a presence. Last drink. Yeah, it's not numbing anymore. Got great taste. Still got good mouthfeels. This big syrupy finish. Oh, it's just going and going. It's like my really nice cinnamon apple pie with a sprinkling of vanilla got invaded. It's still there, but it has riders, and those riders have jumped on board, and some cocoa has jumped in there, and some honey has jumped in there, and it's quite delicious. Yeah, that's really good. Really good. So we went through and looked at it. We got our thoughts on age, viscosity. What did we think it was going to have as a finish? What did we think it would have as a coating initial palate? We went through the nose. We smelled it. We pulled our nose off that. We went through and done the palate, which is our full frontal assault. We went through, got to the about face, which is our second pour, and now we're going to go to the back blast. The back blast, the reason we say back blast is the back blast is what comes out of something you shoot. It's the back blast. It's what's back here. So we're getting back to it. What do we expect it to be? And a lot of things how good it is based on the percussion. So what we want to do is come back to this little bit that we set aside. Oh, wow. This, I can tell you right now, this should be decanted. This should be decanted. If it's that good already, That is Honey Nut Cheerios with milk chocolate. If you took like Hershey's syrup and drizzled it on your Honey Nut Cheerios over over vanilla ice cream, it is like really, really, really good. Oh my gosh. This is right up there. It's probably one of my favorite. I would put it in my top 5. My top 5 favorite cask strengths. The problem is, it's not the easiest to find. You have to be somewhere you can find it. So, before it goes extinct, reach out and find somebody that has it, because this is delicious. Alright, final thoughts. So it's a 72-22 6 mash bill. Rye being in the middle, malted barley being the 6. It's 121.2. I know that Woodinville has these as store picks. I've never seen one of them that wasn't a pick. Mine right here happens to be a Total Wine and More out of Texas. I have seen others. So I think they're all basically in the same wheelhouse, really close to that. I highly recommend, if you are a cask strength person, or if you're not, this gets better as it goes. If you're not a cask strength person, you know what? Decant it. Let it set a little bit. But make sure when you go into it, you either warm up your palate or be ready for a full frontal assault. It's going to attack you, and it is not going to let up right away. You need to do your due diligence. Let yourself acclimate to it. But this, so far, is right there as one of my tops. So I can imagine down the road I'm going to end up doing a cask strength flight fight. I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to go through and do a skirmish, because these guys are just irritating me. Because this right here is so good. I don't even have words other than it's really delicious. So, having said that, look for it. Woodinville's single barrel cask strength is definitely one of my favorites. I look forward to talking to you guys again. Be sure to check me out tomorrow. I'll be on Wednesday Blends Day. They won't always be blends, but there'll always be something that I'll be doing, and maybe I'll blend it at the end. Tomorrow we're doing a trifecta. We're doing a bunch of knobs. So I look forward to it. As always, be good to those that are good to you. Take the time to be nice first, because it breaks down walls. And being good to each other is what we all should strive to be. So until the next time, from the Bourbon Battalion, this is Bobby. Cheers, guys.